everybody, what's going down? It's your girl, Jay Renee. You know, I always got something to say. And today, this is our second episode of the Hispanic Heritage Month series. And y'all, you already know, first off, we met Dylan Silvas of, let me see, where was, I'm a best friend, and I really do need to remember this. He's from Taft, Texas. I hope he doesn't kill me. Love you, Dylan. And y'all already know I really don't edit anything unless I just absolutely have to. So this person here, I mean, she put me in my first film when I was in Corpus Christi for my undergrad year. And y'all, since then, she has been contributing to her culture as a whole. I'm talking about, it don't matter if you're Latinx, Latino, Latina, whoever, or even Afro-Latina, whatever you identify with within the culture, she makes sure to put you in the film. And she always makes sure to give you a little history background. She does her research on the film. And this film that she literally created, y'all. I mean, it took, I'm not gonna say forever, but she literally done her research for an extensive amount of time to make sure she got her culture to a T. She is definitely one of my favorite. Move over all other. I don't care if you Spike Lee to Quentin Tarantino. Move the fuck over, okay? Because this girl, she need y'all. Hey, Hulu, you need to go ahead and get this film. It's called Las Virgenes.
Yeah.
Las Virgenes. Okay, created by Taylor Carmona, who's the director, executive producer, editor, writer, and I don't know if I said this already, producer. Okay, y'all, she wrote this script. This script is her. This is her vision on paper that was able to come to life on Corpus Christi soil. Okay, she had individuals from all different walks of life in this film, and I'm gonna shut up and I'm gonna let her introduce herself. Taylor Carmona! Woo!
Oh my God, the fanfare! I love it. Thank you all so much. This is like so great. Thank you so much for having me on, Jay. It is a pleasure, honestly. Since like you gave in my brief introduction that we've already worked together. I had you, and you believed in me enough to like let me throw you into a short film musical, and I was like, girl, I need you to lip sync. You were all, for my life, bet I got it. I'm gonna become Etta James. So yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Right, because I remember when One for My Baby, y'all also check that out as well, available on some platforms. She's going to get that
Very soon.
very
Yes,
soon,
I'll
very
get
soon
to
to
that.
ship it to every platform. And so I remember One for My Baby, we were in your apartment, you were like, I would love to honor Etta James. And I was like, do it. You're like, I don't know. I was like, do it. I'm here. You got me for like another 2 years. Let's do it. Like, I will drive back to Corpus and help you out with this. You're like, cool. And we got started, y'all. I had to learn how to fake cry, like on cue, and it kept coming out the wrong eye. It kept coming out the wrong eye.
It was beautiful.
It kept coming out the wrong eye. But I love your tenacity. I love your determination. I love how you do research not only on the project itself, but on locations, on the actors and actresses that you use, on wardrobe, because wardrobe took forever.
You know, girl.
But
you already know.
We have fun. And so
and
that was
offer a deal.
right. Whew. When I tell you, we just got deals after deals after deals. I said, damn. But we're gonna go ahead and jump into your film journey. How did you get started, and what made you want to go into film?
Okay, yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, so basically, so I'm from a little small town called Bishop, Texas. I'm currently still residing here, repping small town life. And I originally went to school for marine biology, and then I realized I was like, I don't like the science behind marine biology. I like watching the documentaries of them in the ocean. So maybe I'm not in the right career field, right? I'm like, I don't want to be in the lab dissecting things. I want to be like on the documentary, finding like, work with National Geographic type stuff. And then, I transferred out of my marine biology track and I went into A&M CC, where, you know, that was where you and I then met. Yeah, so went to A&M CC, and then, you know, we were some of the first people, like, in their film track, like, really getting into it, like, off the ground, you know. And in those years, that's when, you know, we made a few projects. Like, you and I did your short film for, like, our one of our narrative classes, The Life as We Know It, you know, shooting in someone's house. And then I think, like, it was pretty close to, like, right around the time I was about to graduate. And you, I think, still had, like, maybe a semester or two at AMCC. And that is when I then pitched you One for My Baby. And, like, my main thing with One for My Baby was, like, can I do this, right? Like, can this actually be accomplished by me, an individual that, like, has no means, really? Because, you know, we were out here going to freaking
Girl, we were struggling. We were struggling.
We were struggling to keep the lights on, all of it. And, like, you know, gas was, we were eating dollar meals whenever we could, you know what I'm saying? Oh my God, I don't know if you remember us driving outside of Wilson Plaza and finding the pallet that we needed to build the stage for the first scene. And I was like, dude, let's take it. And then you were like, all right, I'm gonna go ask these police officers real quick. And I was like, oh God. I was like, don't tell them we're gonna steal. And you were like, no, it's fine, it's fine. And
right, because I was like, look, you got a black person, you got a brown person. I don't really think the odds are with us right now, especially in this side of Corpus. So let me just just to be on the safe side, just because we don't want nobody to get hurt.
We can get a little permission. Yep, exactly. Just a little permission. It doesn't hurt sometimes. And they totally let us have it. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the system I was operating on in the beginning. You know, like you said, I was doing wardrobe, locations, set design, like making the shot list. And then of course we had like our other crew members that like came in during production. But like all of the pre-production really fell on to me. And like I again just could not like have done it too without like, you know, people like you and like all the other crew members. That was when Jennifer Bracy came on for the very first time to one of our projects for Pomegranate, and it was like I still work with her now. I still have that connection with you now, and it's like that was the foundation that really allowed me to believe in myself, along with, you know, like the support I had from my family.
And look, I told you, I was like, we gonna get this done. This is going to get done. I don't care. And the fact we was doing all this and I didn't even have a car. That's the crazy part. Like I was moving as if I had a car. I didn't get a car until I damn near graduated.
And that shit is so funny to me too, because I mean, like, we were out here just like making it work somehow, and like after LV, you know, like we learned a lot of things, obviously, like because of the fact that we were using, you know, some of her direct songs, like it kind of hit us with some obstacles in terms of distribution, you know what I mean? But the goal of actually making the short film in this tiny of a community out of here in the coastal bend, you know what I mean? Like, they were people that were like, yes, come use our space for free, like for a whole day. On the one day that we're closed, shout out Harold's Pharmacy in Kingsville, amazing. They're like, the one day we're off a week, y'all can come in, film all day until like 6 p.m. and then, you know, get out and just call it a day. You know what I mean? And after that, you know, I did El Poeta, and you know, that was again like another goal where it was set like, okay, but can I get this into a film festival? And I did. I mean, I only got into one, but it's like, hey, it got in. Like, you know what I mean?
Talk about that experience when I believe it was the Oaxaca Film Festival.
Yeah.
Am I pronouncing? I'm trying to make sure I pronounce everything right. Y'all don't cancel me. I'm trying. Okay. What was that feeling like? So what was that feeling like to have your film actually, you know, be in a festival?
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. Like, if I can be completely honest, like, it was like kind of romanticized idea you have as like a young filmmaker whenever they first really start out. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, I'm going to like an international film festival and like this, that, and the other. I mean, my experience like with the festival was like evenly balanced. Let's say that. You know what I mean? There was some bad things that happened, and there was some like really great experiences that I got. I mean, there are still all of the filmmakers that I like individually like had the chance to like interact with and introduce myself to. I still like hit them up on social media every now and then. Like I still follow them. Like every now and then, you know, we'll chat with one another, and like I'll just say, girl, it was a full whirlwind because we were also out there for an entire week. And like our film, yeah, it was a week-long thing, girl. That's why I'm saying it's the total like romanticized, like, oh my God, it's like drama. It's like I'm lost in a city, like I don't know where I'm at. It's very hilarious. You know what I mean? But like on the back end, there was like other stuff at play that was like really kind of countering the good experience of the film festival with like the reality of the film festival. And I think like my main takeaway is that for emerging filmmakers, like, you know, you could do really all the research you know think you know can to really get your film into the right festival, and like that festival have, you know, years of accreditation, but things slip up. You know what I mean? Not every festival is going to have it together. Like many people that I know that like work out of the festival circuit, you know what I mean? They're like, dude, stuff happens, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I get it. Like I wasn't worried about it. That's why I'm like, it was balanced and it was perfect. Like that's really all I can say about it, and it makes me excited for the next ones. You know.
So after One for My Baby, you've created LV. And one thing I love is that you are so open with who you are, as far as, you know, your bloodline. You are Spaniard and Indigenous.
Yep.
Yup. And so,
I know.
yes,
we
that's
got
the
but
friend right
also
there.
like again, it's the balance, girl. It's like colonizer, colonized. I mean, you just kind of have to like live with both of the identities.
And so I love within the film you've definitely inserted all the bloodlines of all your characters, including yourself, being
Yep.
Spaniard and Indigenous origin. Because I'll be honest, you don't hear that a lot. You don't hear that a lot, and that's what I love. You're just like, look, this is me, okay. And then I remember you and Dylan educated me on the different cultures of, you know, of Hispanic and Latinx people, and I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot. Like y'all be black people on that one.
Yeah.
Y'all definitely be black people on that one. And so I love how y'all took the time to actually educate me, because, you know, I was like, yeah, I thought she was Mexican. You was like, no.
I'm like, yeah.
And I want you to I want you to go ahead and go into detail about the purpose of inserting your culture into your films. Because even in One for My Baby, it was
Yeah.
it was definitely, I would say it definitely pushed that envelope that you don't see within a lot of films. Like you usually see, okay, if they are, you know, mixed, then it's usually, you know, black woman, white man, or
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, they leave it at that. But I know for One for My Baby, it was actually a black woman
Yes.
and and a Latin male. And so the whole story, y'all need to check it. Y'all really need to check this out, okay? I can't really tell you the whole story. I need y'all to go see it, but it's amazing. It's amazing. Um, and so I want you once again to talk about the purpose of inserting your culture within your films to make sure that you're also educating the viewer about
Yeah, definitely.
your culture, and not only that, but every culture you decided to insert in the film and make it their character.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, great observation, Jay. Like, I mean, again, you know, going back to the first film, like, One for My Baby, it was like spotlighting, you know, the fact that there is kind of this prejudice within the Latino community against like people of color, specifically, you know, Afro Latinas and or you know, Black women and or men. You know what I mean? So I was really drawing kind of like a hot spotlight, putting them on, you know, review that internally and figure out like, you know, where those stem from and why they stem from. And with LV, you're exactly right. I mean, LV, it's very personal to me. Like, One for My Baby, like we said, it was me being like, I want to honor Etta James. I respect her work so much. She got me through, like, her music got me through some of the roughest times during university. And with LV, I was basically writing a story where I broke myself up into 4 characters and like spotlighted the different experiences I've had, like as a, you know, Spanish and Indigenous woman, like growing up in a small town in Texas, like dealing with, you know, parents who are under, you know, this strain of like alcoholism, and parents who are also very kind of like you know, blasé about, you know, their children, and like, you know, as long as they're making sure that they're doing right. And then in turn the kids that, you know, those mothers raise are who our lead characters are in Las Virgenes. And you know, we see Luna, Lupe, and the twins, and like all of them for me was a way to like heal from something that was like a major issue within our communities. And a lot of the people, like, you know, I know growing up, like our main character Luna is raised by her grandparents. I'm raised by my grandparents. I'm one of the many children in, you know, my Latino and Spanish communities, you know, my Spanish and Indigenous communities that are raised by their grandparents, because unfortunately the parent is not in the mental headspace to raise a child, but they were, you know, forced to have the child because of, you know, belief systems. And, you know, specifically in this region, which is what I'm talking about, is Catholic influence, right? Like the Catholics really got a stronghold on the community, girl. Like it's rough. And like in this film, we see those strong Catholic beliefs blended with a lot of indigenous, like Mexican practice, meaning brujeria, and like the blend of it, and specifically highlighting the virgin deities that Catholicism has like created, alongside of the deities that are like based out of Mexica origins. So like La Virgen de Guadalupe is actually like her origins can be traced back to like indigenous people like morphing one of their like deities with the Catholic one to keep it alive, and her that deity's name is Tonantzin. And then we have another one which is Santa Muerte, and Santa Muerte can be related all the way back to a Mexica deity known as Mictecacihua. And like that's what we really focus on in Las Virgenes, is that like dichotomy of these two practices coming together, and what happens when someone uses it for the wrong reasons, and like the backlash because of it, right? So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the breakdown of the symbolism that's taking place in the story.
Have you been able to I guess experience the positive and negative side being of Hispanic and Latin origin, and then it's not a lot, just like with Black women directors, it's not a lot of us in the industry, and when you hear those names, you want to grasp them so hard because you just like, baby, I don't know when's the next time we're gonna get another one.
Yep.
So tell me about that. Tell me about that experience. You actually having to see the pros and the cons and being involved in that, and you're just like, hey, hey, we need to
Yeah.
change this narrative.
Yeah. So I mean, definitely I get a little tired of the like origins of like brujeria constantly being like associated with like evil and darkness. Like, yes, that's what's taking place kind of in our story, but I really want the audience to analyze and view like, oh, it's not the indigenous ritual practice that's wrong. It's the fact that these young girls are using like this deity in this ancient like spiritual form to do something evil. You know what I mean? It's all about an intention, right? And so that's the story I try to tell. I try to tell stories based out of the experience of, you know, people who come from, you know, Spanish and indigenous background, but, you know, may have that disconnect because of assimilation. But yeah, so I mean, that's kind of the pushback that I feel like I've had, like, kind of in convincing some of the people really involved in the industry. But for the most part, I am very persuasive, and people get it when I explain it to them. You know what I mean? They see the vision because I'm like, no, 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 hear me out.
Do you think that in the future the stereotypes will be broken as far as the culture, your culture itself? Because you know the stereotypes are there heavily. And even some of the actors get stereotyped, and then they have to, you know, be put in the roles, you know, that they're in. And do you think in the future that that type of mold will be broken?
I think the mold will be broken very soon. I mean, a great example of like, you know, an indigenous story that's like taking place, and also even like the indigenous Spanish story. Um, the indigenous one is Reservation Dogs. Like that new show that has come out is like phenomenal. And then the other that's like widely known is called Gentefied, and it's out of like California, and it's telling these stories about people that have been here there for like generations. You know what I mean? And obviously, like Native American and Indigenous peoples that are being represented in Reservation Dogs, they're out of Oklahoma. That's literally right above us. Like, come on, y'all, put two and two together. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, if two plus two equals four, you know what I'm saying? It's like, come on, you know, and like, I think though, like along with the fact of like society seeing that like there are like society and the industry seeing that there are other stories that like can be told by us, I think there's like still the bigger hurdle of even within our own communities. Sometimes it's really hard for them to stray away from those stereotypes, and it's like in my mind, I was picturing four morenitas, like maybe even some Afro Latinas or indigenous Latinas that could possibly, you know, be at the forefront of these lead characters. And I did get some pushback. Ultimately, I got what I wanted though, because I mean, like, it's my film, like, you know what I mean? But like, every now and then, you'll get somebody or, you know, a group of people that have it in their mindset that it's like, you know, it's been done a certain type of way for so long, like you don't want to break away from that because that's what's gonna sell. And it's like that's not my goal. You know what I mean? Like, yes, distribution is my goal, but not distribution to those kind of like distributors. You know what I mean?
Right, like having to fit their ideologies for your project when it's clear as day what your project is about, who is involved. And,
Literally.
yeah, literally, like, period, boo.
Exactly.
Another thing I want to get into is the fact that even, like I say, even because in my opinion, I think that Hispanic Latino culture is very similar to Black culture, and how within our own communities we build our own barriers against ourselves. So
So true.
it's like, okay, I get it, but we also gotta evolve ourselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, it's nothing wrong being the first, even though
absolutely.
everybody I know is like, okay, like if you're a doctor, first doctor, good for you. But for some reason, and literally in our culture, you know, telling stories and keeping our family's memories alive, and we've had a talk about this before. Like you have an ofrenda, we have pictures on the walls, and if you ask, we tell you the story and everything and how the generations lead up, to yourself. But it's the fact that when it comes to art, it's totally different. Like it's technology in the medical field, even math or even being a teacher, it's good. Hey, good for you. Yeah, yeah. But when it's art, like film, media, even to this day, I still have, people within my family that are like, you can work for. It's just like that's not me. That's not me.
Yep.
But it's also masked behind their face. It's like, oh, I'm so proud of you. But there's an opening at this place.
Yeah, there's always a fallback, right? There's always something. Yeah.
So talk to me about that. What did it feel internally, and then how were you able to spin it? How are you able to spin it into something great?
Yeah. I mean, girl, I'd be lying if I said the battle was over. It's still a battle. You know what I mean? Like being in the arts, especially as like a person of color, like it's a hard sell to your family, to your loved ones, like because the reality of it is like, not to call, out the system, but I don't really care. I will call out the system. Like they don't see the value of POC art unless it's like trauma based. Like it is heavily like that's what it's dependent on, right? Or like showcasing like, you know, um overcoming things and like, always being strong, all that sort of stuff. And like in those type of moments, it's like I see where they're coming from because they're worried essentially that it's like, one, I'm going to give everything I have emotionally, right? I'm going to expose myself and my vulnerability to the world through my art, and nobody's going to reciprocate it. And on top of that, I'm not getting any money for it, right? I think in the beginning, again, too, like it's like to be practical about what I actually have access to was a hard like pill to swallow for myself. And then, having to explain to my family again, like, hey, like I know I just finished filming one for my baby, but I'm already kind of in pre-production for another project that I'm likely not going to make any money off of. But like this time, people are giving me money to make it. You know what I mean? Like I had a friend of mine, like a longtime friend and colleague, who I've known well over 20 years at this point, back from Bishop, and his name is Cole Wilborn, and he saw El Poeta, my second project. No, he saw one for my baby. I'm sorry. He saw one for my baby and was like, Taylor, like this is good. Like you can keep doing this. Like let me give you a little money for your next project that you're making. Like I mean, mind you, it was like a small investment, like, nothing too crazy, like a little over, 1K and like, but you know me, girl, I made that 1K stretch, girl, stretch. And like, so in and like in those moments, oh, what's up?
I said, we can stretch a dollar out of 15 cents.
We can stretch a dollar, girl. Dude, I'm telling you, we got food, we got, wardrobe, we got like locations locked, all of the things that are necessary. And then obviously we had, because your girl is like a master at in-kind sponsorship and donation, like finding the right people to do that. Locations were given to us in kind, like the camera crew and the lighting crew, like offered their services and time to the project for free, in hopes that the project would go somewhere. And like, those collaborations were made. And like, all of the talent, they're normally non-actors and or like emerging, like starting talent out of the Corpus Christi area or the coastal bend or, like just wherever in this tri-county region where I'm at. And they'll come and that they need some stuff to put in their portfolios, and they're like, I'd love an opportunity. And I'm like, thank you so much for like taking this project to be that one. You know what I mean? Because we're all a team in it at the end of the day. But yeah, like it's hard, like you're doing all this stuff, and you're like, damn, I'm like, in charge of like 50, 60 people. Like, how did this happen? And then you still have to come back though to your family and be like, yeah, but like, can you front me $20 so I can like put gas for the week? You know what I mean? And they're kind of like, damn, bitch, they're like, you're expending yourself, and like, there's no turnaround. But it's like now in LV. So, like, obviously with Elpo, I thought, like, I had an investor. I was able to keep the same investor for, the next project. And, like, I ultimately, like, got the majority of the actual cash budget um, that was, like, used for LV. Like, it was put in personally by me. So I was using my personal funds to make the project on this round with, the help of like my other investor, and then obviously the in-kind. I mean, we got in-kind camera, in-kind lighting, like in-kind locations, in-kind flowers, like in-kind folklorico dancers, like in-kind. I'm just like all over the place. Like, I was really trying to make things move, but in certain areas there are, some spots of film as you're growing where it's like you cannot not pay. You know what I mean? You have to make a payment of some sort. Now that we're in post production, we're like still kind of like fundraising and stuff like that. And it's been a wild ride, but like we've been applying, to grants, and I applied to like an individual like artist grant, federal grant, like earlier this year, thinking nothing of it, right? Because it's like you hear the horror stories about grants. Like nobody gets them, right? Like it's a waste of your time. Like it's like an elitist system, and it's like, okay, whatever, fine. But it's like, honestly, like let me put my name in the ring. You know what I mean? Like let me put my name in the running. So I did, and I got it, and like I was able to like fund a huge portion of the post production budget needed, and like I think when that happens, like that's definitely when some of my family was like, their antennas like went up, right? They were like, wait, so they just gave you free money, like because you're an artist? And I'm like, well, like yes, but also like it's not that simple. I think now that like some of those moves are being taken for me to like really take this seriously, like myself and my colleague and business partner like Jennifer, like we realize like grants are an actual huge like thing, a huge proponent of like budgeting and fundraising that we can really look into, because like you've addressed, I focus on things that nobody else is really talking about at the moment, and they're always looking for like to fund projects that are coming out of these more like niche identities and voices. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. I feel like it was very long. I'm sorry.
Hey girl, look, it was very like, I was with it. I was like, oh damn, like she going into it, and I love it. I love it. I stay with the details. And so I want to go back on what you said. You touched on. You said that you always make sure to include actors that are just starting out or that are trying to get their foot in the door already. So like they may have some credit, but it's not like an acting credit. They may have like a commercial credit. And once again, y'all that's out there, it's okay if you do have that, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like right. I'm trying, girl, you good. I'm just trying not to get canceled already. And so and so I want to ask you, why get the fresh actors that are like, hey yo, my page is blank, you're my first, take a chance on me, and then also the ones that are trying to get their foot in the door, instead of going out there and get the ones that have that resume, because I know you already know, we know some, we went to school with some that had that full resume. So I'm just asking you, like, why get the freshman?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, it's a few factors, right? One at the forefront is like I myself was just starting out, so it's kind of hard for like people that have already been established and like have like maybe 5 or 6 productions under their belt, and now they're taking a chance on like a brand new director that like they don't even really know. I'm basically telling them like I have no money for anything, but somehow everything's gonna get done. Like it's really hard for people to kind of grasp that sort of like, you know, tenacity, as we have said. You know what I mean? Because they're like, okay, girl, you're shooting for the stars, but it's like, no, I live amongst the stars. Like, you know what I mean? Like.
Yes, queen. Yes, you better.
You know what
La
I'm saying?
reina for a reason.
You know, it's difficult, you know, but I say all of that because, you know, also too, like again, as we've already mentioned, I prefer casting Indigenous Latinos, Afro Latinos, all BIPOC really. That's like at the forefront. And again, right now where I'm at, a lot of them aren't in a position where they have like years worth of acting accreditation where they were able to go to an acting school or whatever, you know? So, I mean, that's just kind of the reality. But like moving forward on the next project, like, yes, like that is like our main goal is to like try to actually have the money and like the accessibility to cast actors that, you know, are like more established, just to see also like if we can handle it, because you know some people operate at a union rates and all that stuff, and you know we need to get our foot in the door for that sort of, you know, kind of cycle, and knowing how to operate that system.
The thing I want to touch on is
Right,
how you don't care about the physical attributes about the actors. You really care about the talent itself, because you have
yeah.
tons of movies. They're just like, so we're looking for. I know we didn't put it on the actor description, but you're a little too thick, or you're a little too thin, or we don't know who to call you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I applaud you as a whole. You know what I'm talking about. But I love how you make sure to include every person from every background, no matter if they're a part of your culture, or they're a part of my culture, who's ever culture.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I want you to talk about the importance of the inclusion of everyone and forgetting the physical attributes, but
Yeah.
the actual message across in the film.
Yeah. I think, I mean, again, great point. Like, truthfully, like, to me, I have always been a plus size person. You know, I was the kid. What's up, girl?
What a big
We out here. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
like, fly as hell, you know, confident as hell, like, aggressive as hell. Like, growing up, like, I was deemed, like, the aggressive, mean girl. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, all right. I mean, it's true. But yeah, so, I mean, my main thing is that, like, I want to also see people that are representative of, like, myself and, like, who I was friends with growing up, right? Like latest project, Las Virgenes, you know, we have a diverse like cast of, you know, actors for, you know, this film. You know, we have, you know, a more normal bodied woman. We have fuller figured people, and we also have people that aren't, you know, maybe conforming with the binary system in terms of gender expression. And like that's really important to me because again, growing up, that's who I hung out with. And it's like if you can't see that, I don't know what to tell you because your blinders are staying up. Like, I mean, they're staying down. You know what I mean? Like my shit's up, open, and I can see everything. You know?
And I want to also get into all that you've went through and all that you've overcame led you to having your own production company, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would call it like a production company, but like in the early stages. Right now, we're operating as like an independent film collective, which again is like a huge feat. It's like a huge monument, especially again in this region. I have within my film collective, I have people obviously operating out of the coastal bend. I'm operating out of South Texas. Jennifer's operating out of Austin, so Central Texas, and then some of our actors came all the way down from like the Houston and Dallas area to be in LV. Two of our leads were from Colorado and one of the Carolinas. And in our post-production team, we have one of our sound composers like operating out of like God, the colony region. You know what I mean? Like Maine or something. Yeah, I maybe it's like one of the M states up in like near New York and stuff like that. Like we were able to like virtually work with them, you know, obviously because of the pandemic and stuff like that, and you know the advances of technology. We connected via IG, and like he was just so ready to come on and participate. And I was like, oh my God, like what made you want to do this? And he's like, oh, well, like I see your project. I see that you're promoting like, Indigenous identity, and like I just want to be a part of it. And I mean, it's wild to me that like at this point now I have operated out of like the central middle region of the United States out towards like the East Coast. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy to me. Small girl from Bishop, Texas, just out here, but yeah. Oh, you're not back on, Aaron.
Oh, shit, my bad. Sometimes I forget to press the unmute button.
It's
I
okay.
want you to tell everybody what is the name of your film collective and
Oh
why.
yeah, so
Why did you call it that?
yes, so thank you. I know I didn't even mention that earlier. So the film collective is called Pomegranate Vision, and it stems from some of my early days when I was going by Pomegranate Productions, and when I went by Pomegranate Studios, and then now ultimately I hope to forever be known as Pomegranate Vision, which is our film collective right now, and it comes from growing up. My daddy used to call me his little pomegranate, like all the time, like because he said to him, like I was like his little princess, and if you look at a pomegranate, it looks like it has like a little crown on its head. And so he was like, "That's what you look like as a baby, like a big old head with like a little crown. That's how I saw you." And like my daddy was one of the hugest proponents, like in like supporters of my artistic career. And he I call him my daddy, but he was my grandfather because, like I said, I was raised by my grandparents. But like he, gave me the film idea for El Poeta, and like he passed away prior to El Poeta being able to, come to life. I mean, he had passed away around the time of one for my baby. We had gone through that obstacle in the middle of it, and to me, it was just like a way of honoring like his support, like and like trust in me. When I came to him and told him, like, hey, Daddy, I don't want to be a marine biologist anymore. I want to go make films. And he was just like, well, okay, whatever you want to do, like, you know what I mean? He was just ready to support me, and like it meant so much. And like all my family knows me as like the little pomegranate, like my daddy's family, my grandma's family, like all of it. So when I was getting started, that was the way I went around the name. And every time I tell someone, or they hear about my film collective, like what my name is, they're always like, pomegranate, I love that. Like that's so unique. And I'm like, and maybe they're just kind of like blowing steam, but it's like, to me, most of the time it seems genuine. And I'm like, yeah, and it always like kind of makes my heart like happy a little bit, because it's like it just reminds me of like how my daddy like was always, he saw it in me, you know what I mean? He saw the shine or whatever, and like he knew I was gonna be something, and is why like the film collective now, like I mean I want to say honestly it was always a film collective starting back from one for my baby, but it was just like kind of getting my footing. Like I knew I was part of the film collective, and like maybe some others, and then like the second project hit, and then after LV, I mean now we have Jen, Ryan, Danielle, like I think maybe Cole, obviously, who are now like first and second gen pomegranates, like basically come to bloom, And we got a few seedlings. I want to shout out to some of our crew members that like came onto this project and like are seeing out like some of the other ones in the future. And I'm really grateful to like all of the people that, you know, again, have, you know, taken the time to listen to me and like hear me out about what my vision is. And then they're like, I want to be a part of this.
I want to extend, you already know, my heart out to you because, girl, I already know all that what you have done and all that you will do in the future will definitely exceed all boundaries that are placed against us within this little trifling ass world. And I love how you just never gave up. Like you're like, okay, you say no, but I say yes, and I'm gay.
So yeah,
Like, so
exactly.
why are you still in my face? Okay. Wiener Schnitzel is and so I like I said before, I love how you include every aspect of your culture within every single last one of your films because even in One for My Baby, even you make sure to include the small businesses of Black and brown people to make sure that you shine a light on the small towns to make sure that everyone knows, hey, look, this is where we were, this is what we're doing. You want to hit them up, you can. Here you go. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And okay, even though the ceiling caved in, that was still the best. That was the best time.
Early days.
Y'all, the fact that the ceiling caved in, nobody ran. We was just like,
We just looked up like, all right, who got the broom? Can I get a dustpan?
and then the crazy part, we looked through the hole and we were like, well, it's actually pretty nice. You need to break down this whole roof. It's pretty nice up there. I don't know why you closed it off. Right? We were like, I don't. You need to break this whole roof. You know, we became contractors. You like, you need to break that. Yeah, break.
Revamp this whole place.
Right. You need to rewire all of this. The original roof is actually, you know, I like that. I like that. You don't need this.
Nice.
You don't need this. You don't need this. But I want to ask you.
Oh my gosh, girl.
Shout out. I forgot his name, but he was. That time we got $1 and we all signed it. I don't know where he stuck it, but there's like the place of dollars, and I was just like that's a lot of dollars. That's like, but we definitely all signed that $1, and I know it's gonna be worse up to someday. Give us one more year. That $1's gonna be $1 billion. Be like, oh, okay, you still got it. I would have spent that. Would have been at McDonald's. Here you go. Give me my drink. But I want to ask you what is next for not only for your film collective, but for you as a director, writer, editor, producer, and all around creative individuals. And how are you going to incorporate your culture even further so than you already have?
Yeah, so beautiful question. I love it. Definitely going forward, I know like for the film collective, I know I want us to keep growing and I want to get us to a point where like, you know, we're not only making projects that I'm writing. You know what I mean? I would love for, you know, somewhere down the line our like film collective to grow with writers. Like I would really love to try to like make an actual like writers team. But I think you know that comes along with it. Writers are they're hiding out, lurking in their homes like myself because I consider myself a writer and I'm holed up. And I think also too I really like I said moving forward with the other projects like we're really going to try to get financial like backing and investments prior to going into pre-production. So, everyone that is participating, like, yes, in the beginning stages, we may not be making like hundreds of thousands of dollars, like, but it's like if you believe in me now, there's a high chance in the future that you will be. Like, you know what I mean? Because if one thing has been established through this whole interview, it's that I don't quit. Like, I am not planning on stopping. So I mean, I think it really comes out, on their end to being like, am I cut out for this? Is this what I want to do? And now, moving into myself and like what I expect for myself moving forward, I expect myself to, really start locking in a lot of these grants. I expect to see like an influx of people, really resonating with my artwork that I'm creating in these films and like the stories that I'm trying to tell. And I would also really like to see myself, kind of appreciating it a little bit more. Like taking time to like really tell myself like, damn. I mean, I do, because you know me, girl. I'll be sitting in front of a mirror like, wow, look at her. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean?
INC me, the sun, earth, moon, and the stars. Hello, it's night because you gotta wake up to look at me. Where can everybody find you? Where can everybody find your past films? Where can they watch those? And where can they keep up to date when you do post, your films? Where can they, like LinkedIn or, give all your social media tags and where, once again, they can find you and donate.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Yes. Okay, so we are actually found on Facebook, Instagram. We don't have Twitter or website just yet, but it's at Pomegranate Vision, and that's we post a lot about our most current projects. For videos, as of right now, I have a Vimeo account, and it's just under like Taylor Carmona at the moment. Pretty soon I'm going to make a Pomegranate Vision Vimeo, and that's going to include the one for my baby. It's going to include El Poeta, and it's going to include like all of the behind the scenes stuff for those projects, and also anything upcoming for Las Virgenes. And for fundraising and crowdfunding and stuff like that, we are making our IndieGoGo very soon, and we will be posting it likely within like the next maybe week or two. So if you want to support our project, Las Virgenes, or anything about Pomegranate Vision, I highly, recommend donating to our project and helping us meet our post-production goal. And other than that, I mean, my personal Instagram is at Carmona_Reina. So that's pretty much the only one.
Thank you so much, Taylor Carmona of Bishop, Texas. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And creating such a realm of film that provides comfortability, provides individuality, and provides that level of understanding and research and education, not just for people with their culture, but all of us. You know what I'm saying? And I just, girl, thank you for being a best friend. Yes, honey. Yes. Thank you for.
I know, girl. I have missed you.
Girl, you know we used to get. Well, we can't. It's still recording. We can't say all, but we used to. Yeah, we don't want to incriminate us.
Can't get into all of it. Oh my gosh, girl. Yeah, we gotta watch out.
Right. The people watching. I want to thank you so much for coming on the Talk With Me podcast, allowing me to interview you, and allowing all of YouTube to have that type of insight on who you are as a person and how you came to be the incredible individual that you are now.
Thank you so much, Jay, and it has been a true honor, knowing you and working with you this whole time. I am very happy to call you one of my best friends as well, and a colleague that I love and respect. I love Tuna, girl, and you out here doing it in the Houston area, girl. I can't wait until this whole pandemic's over. I'm gonna get out there. We're gonna make something happen. I already told you I got a role for you waiting in the TV series when it's ready to go into pre-production, girl. Let me get this cash first.
Hey, Hulu and Netflix. When Las Virgenes drops, okay, you know what? The Virgins. Okay, the name is called.
Yep.
You have my girlie call me and be like, really? Out of all the Spanish that we tried to teach you, That's the word you messed up on.
That's the word.
Because well, she's not like my biological grandmother, but she's my mom's godmom, and she was raised in Corpus before it was called Corpus.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
exactly.
Right. My abuelita. So man, you already know. Y'all need to go ahead and call Taylor right now of Pomegranate Vision, and y'all need to get that. You better go ahead.
Ring.
Because you already got Res Dog, so you might as well go ahead. Go ahead, Hulu. Go ahead. That's hey. Shit.
Come on.
With y'all.
Come on. Where the contract? Cash at me.
Right. Cash at about the bed because I get my 2% like milk. But thank you so much, girl. You already know we're going to catch up after this. And like I said, keep going. Keep going. I don't care whose side. You better keep going, girl. You are an amazing person. La Rela is here in the building. And you know what? We're going to let you go ahead. And once again, say where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram and Facebook, Pomegranate Vision, and then Instagram personal account is Carmona_Rivera if you would like to follow me.
And like that. And that was the Talk to Me podcast, sponsored by Ice Up Slushies and Houston Trend. Y'all, this is Hispanic Heritage Month. We're going to keep it going.